I'm excited to take you on a journey today on this stunning 83-acre riverfront property at Woodville. Woodville is 2 hours north of Sydney, a 45-minute journey from Newcastle, an hour from Port Stephens. It's perfectly located right in the middle of the Hunter Valley. We're going to take you on a journey, introduce you to the owners and learn about the story of this beautiful property called Tressingfield. It's exciting to be standing here with you both to learn a lot about the journey, and I think it's important that we tell a story from start to finish on what the property is today, but what it was more importantly when you arrived here. So take us on a journey about your history here and what you found when you arrived at this property.
Sure. Well, Chris, there's 11 blocks that started at the Woodville shop and finished at our block. They were the very first blocks that were given any land title outside of the Sydney Basin, and that went to timber cutters. After that, they struggled, because they didn't have any capital or money, and land sort of changed hands fairly frequently. And then this was brought by an early property owner. They named it Carlton Cottage, had a small, typical old cottage. That moved along till about 1840s when another person bought the land and they changed the name to Tressingfield, and then it's had 3 owners since then up to us. So it's a very productive rural farm. In those days it was dairy and the milk was taken to the river and loaded. Everything went by boat down to Newcastle, down to Sydney, but it also, we've found out, grew tobacco, corn, had sheep, had lots of other crops. So it was a very diversified farm, considered one of the best in the district.
Describe the moment when you decided that, that this property was going to be yours.
We could only do a distant inspection.
Yes.
It wasn't possible to do a detailed inspection. And so we brought it almost sight unseen. But the day we arrived was our moment. When we came, it had fallen into a small state of disrepair. So structurally, the old sandstock brick house was quite sound, but the verandas were collapsing. The wooden verandas were collapsing on the ground. Cattle actually lived on the verandas. The veranda posts had slumped down. So we had to, when we brought it, we had to undertake a fairly major renovation, which involved re-roofing, redoing all the verandas, and then inside, of course, imagine what it was like. There was nothing like a working kitchen, yes. Nothing like a working bathroom. So we did both bathrooms, kitchens, and continued our sort of upgrading and renovating, yes, till then.
The purpose of today is to really give people an insight of the hidden value that the property, yeah, offers, and it's important that we cover off on such a beautiful history. To see the property in its current condition, it's absolutely stunning. So I'm excited to learn about the property and for you guys to tell your story on from that moment, yes, what was next from there.
We started with the 2 beautiful trees behind us were nearly this size, yep, 45 years ago.
Wow. The
bigger trees behind, the Moreton Bays and the Port Jacksons, they were that size, 45 years ago when we took over. But that's all there was. There was, yep, nothing else but those trees and the cattle grazing up to the walls of the veranda. Of course, gardening was our passion, and the garden grew. We learned quickly as we went along what we had to do. Yep. We learned what varieties were going to be successful, and we had plenty of failures while we had plenty of wins. For me, trees are probably my passion, and Pauline loves all the cottagey plants and beautiful flowering gardens, the roses and things.
Yes.
And the gardens have changed as they go along, but they've maintained the basic layout that we put together as we went along.
where was the starting point for you? It was renovating the home to make it livable, obviously, to make it a comfortable home. You're raising a family. So when did the family all start to come along?
When we arrived, we had 3 little boys, 3 small boys, and then they just loved growing up on this property with the river and the lagoon and their kayaks and making rafts and all the things, camping, all the things little boys love to do.
Did they
so
ever?
That was a great success. And then along came 2 little girls. And just living only 15 minutes from Maitland, they could all go to the schools that we chose for them. You know, the beaches are 45 minutes away. We just found it a beautiful place to rear a young family. And it's made all those happy memories for them, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
They're full of
Yeah.
stories now. They keep reminiscing. I feel how privileged we've been to have this beautiful old home, to rear them in, and it's just been such a lucky thing, and it's time for someone else to take it on now and just cherish it and look after it.
So I'm excited to go on a trip around the property so we can look at some of the key aspects of the home and learn a little bit more about the journey and the lifestyle here. So it'll be exciting for us to all go on that journey together. So Bob, we're standing in one of your latest creations out on the property, and it's absolutely amazing, I've got to say. I see so many properties throughout my career, and to see yours is just spectacular. So tell us a little bit about how this has all evolved and what led you to construct it.
You're right, Chris. This is not something you see very often, and quite rightly. Look, this is really my folly. It's my escape area.
Yeah.
This is where I've done just what I wanted for no other reason than I wanted to do it.
So this is the Bob Cave.
This is the Bob Cave. That's exactly right. I'd rather be outside in the cave than inside of the cave. So we've got gabion walls all the way around, holding the soil up. We've excavated down and we've pushed it out to make it level. And then we've created a mixture of fruiting, producing plants and just ornamental plants. So half of them are ornamentals, like there's magnolias, there's prunus, there's the Judas trees, there's maples. They've all come into this area. And then some of the more highly intensive fruit trees that need more looking after, instead of being over in the orchard, like our peaches, nectarines, apricots, they're in this part of the garden where I can easily look after them. We've got figs, which is, if there's the white background there, the figs are still bearing, so we've got them covered from the birds. One of the advantages of the retaining walls is that we can just hang off them to keep the birds away. And then I've created my Japanese garden. So I've got a waterfall, I've got cloud trees, I've got a grass that represents mountains, I've got white rocks that represent sea, rocks that represent mountains again, and it all comes together. It's like an island garden. As well as the fruiting trees, then we've got our vegetable beds too, and obviously we've got the water from the river, so there's no problem with water. We've always got water available, and I can be here and can enjoy it, Chris.
So we're going to head up to a favourite position of
Alrighty.
Pauline's, which is the summer house, and it'll be exciting to learn why that's the favourite position, and certainly there's been some entertaining there. So Pauline, I'm excited to be standing here with you over one of your favourite spots in the entire property. So again, to learn a little bit more about the spot, tell us how this spot evolved and why it is your most favourite spot in the property.
Well, it's my favourite spot because originally our little children used to camp here, pop up their little tents and camp and enjoy the lagoon and have their little rafts and canoes and go after the fish and whatever little children like to do. And we thought, this is so lovely. They'd invite us over for toasted witchetty grubs and all sorts of delicacies that they'd get out of the willow tree. So we just realised then how beautiful it was. Okay, we'll build a summer house. It became our party house. It catches the nor'easters. On a hot day, there's always a breeze off that water. And so then came the little barbecue, a little wood barbecue. And amazing how many people you can accommodate there when you sit on the stone walls and whatever else. And then the tennis court I sort of regard as the playful part of the garden, because you know, it just became such a big part of our lives: tennis, barbecues, friends and children.
Well, passion's a great word. You know, you can see a lot of passion in the property ownership and the lifestyle here. And we can see why you're so passionate about this location. It's absolutely stunning.
Yes, I agree. I can't think of a nicer spot to be. The glass of wine of an evening, the cool breeze coming in, all our jobs are done. That's where we end up.
That's perfect.
Very nice.
So we're standing down in the Poplar Tree area of the property, and it's a stunning location, all been planted in rows. It makes such a magical location, but there's a story behind it. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, Bob?
Yeah, certainly. So these are what they call an evergreen poplar. They don't lose every leaf, but they do lose, you know, about half or 3/4, depending on the season. But it started out as an investment that we thought we could use if we needed to put our children through university. And they helped us plant. They were about 13 and 14 at that stage. And we planted 1,000 poplars in a day. And we had the rows prepared. They were ripped in both directions, and we just had to come along to the cross marker. But there were 4 of us there, and we worked from very early in the morning till well after dark, but we got them all planted in the one day. The good thing is we didn't have to cut them down to send the kids to uni. They all went through uni, but the trees survived. They give us shade, they give us the pleasure of a woodland, yes. And we just enjoy having them, Chris. Okay, so this one's a reasonably rare Bauhinia tomentosa, and it's a yellow flowered Bauhinia that is just a shrub form, and it flowers right through the summer. It's such a beautiful flowering one. And then across the driveway we have a weeping, it's actually a Melaleuca, but you wouldn't recognise it as a Melaleuca. This is Melaleuca bracteantha with its weeping leaves hanging right down, and just the lovely bark and trunk that these trees have. Here we've got a lot of deciduous trees in this area. On our right hand side is Taxodium, behind us ornamental pears, Judas tree just here, our poplar paddocks, which is all planted out as a woodland, they're also deciduous. We've got birch, we've got tropical birch there. Right here we're in front of a standard weeping golden ash, which colours up beautifully golden in the autumn. It's a very special tree. One unusual one that you won't see anywhere else is this guy called Hovinia. It's actually named the raisin tree because it has fruit on it that tastes like raisins. We've got a Zelkova on our left. We've got one of the lipstick maples. We've got the golden rain tree, the Colateria. Just here we've got the Rose of Sharon hibiscus with its pink and white flowers. And then we've got, which is probably the rarest tree, it's an Irish strawberry tree, so it's an abutus, but it's one that's called Abutus anacronoides, and it's grown for its most wonderful bark. As it splits its bark, it goes yellow and red underneath, so you get this beautiful brown bark with yellow and red streaks. It's just such a wonderful tree, and in the future it's going to grow into an amazing tree.
So Bob and Pauline, living on the river brings you much opportunity and water's life, but lifestyle that comes with living on the river. Just tell us a little bit about your story and the changes you probably have seen over the time with the river and the lifestyle opportunities.
Oh well, yeah, this is paradise for the kids here, Chris. They can swim, they can go on their kayaks, they can fish, they can get on the bank and slide down on the toboggans. They've had a great time here. The river itself is it's good because it doesn't run out of water. It's actually tidal.
Yes.
There's small things like the irrigation license. We pay an annual fee, but there's no metering on the irrigation, so you can draw water at any stage. And there's no metering or license on stock feed in gardens, water for gardens, which is on a separate pump. So it's a really good river. It does flood, but I think in the last 20 years we've had 2 floods. And the floods are not long lasting. The river comes up, the river goes away, and the place drains. So we've never had to send cattle away, we've never had to hand feed cattle. Yes. The cattle do so well on this property, it's not funny. It's a very, very rich property as far as pastures go. And the river adds to it. They can drink at the river, but we have troughs in some of the paddocks where they can be watered by trough. Yes. Yeah, so the river's an outstanding feature for us.
So with a property that has the odd occasional flood water come through and that topsoiling, I know that's been said that the cattle that have been raised here and grown on this farm are of an extremely high standard. Can you share a bit of information about that?
Yeah, well, I think it's basically the pastures. Most of our pastures are kikuyu. And kikuyu is, it's sort of next to Lutheran as far as the quality of the feed. So they do well on that most of the year. And then the interesting thing is when we had the drought, which was like, 6 to 12 months ago, I was starting to get worried, thinking things would be difficult. But the stock and station agent who looks after our cattle, he said, no, it's not a problem. Like, you wait. When everything else is getting trampled or being eaten down, the cooch will stand by you. So we've got cooch, which is basically where we're standing now, but in all the low parts, the cooch is there. And I never did really, want it, but it took us right through the drought. It just hung in there, and the cattle just kept eating it and kept eating it. They actually put weight on right through the drought.
Wow.
Yeah, so we didn't have to destock, we didn't have to hand feed, we just carried the same number of stock right through the drought.
So as we're finishing off the tour, we're getting to the most important things, which is food and accommodation. And I've noticed a lot of food, natural food around the property, the chickens, the vegetable patch, the trees, the fruit trees. Tell us a little bit about all of that, and then tell us a little bit about what the home offers.
Sure. Well, it's eating fresh fruit, eating fresh vegetables is just so much better than when you go and buy them fresh in the shops, particularly the fruit, because most of the fruit's been stored. It's been put into cold storage and then it's whipped out, put on the shelves. When you're picking them off the tree, that's just the way to do it, Chris. Yes. So we enjoy that. We know that they're, we know that they're organic. Yes. We know that they've been well looked after, and then there's no travelling, there's no bruising, and they're fresh. So that's the main thing.
And also the fun of actually producing it yourself.
Absolutely.
The satisfaction of growing your own food.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. And the house itself, well, the house to us, like people say, oh, it's a big house. We say, oh, is it? It's just how we live. This is just where we are. We just find it a very livable house. Yeah. You've got the morning side where the sun comes in. You've got the protection from the westerlies. You can go to the sunny side in the winter time. You can close it up in the summer and it's cool. You know, and it's just a house with character, but to us it's just mainly it's a home.
Well, thank you so much, both of you, for showing your beautiful home, beautiful surrounds. It's been an absolute pleasure for you to show us around, and it's been amazing to learn about your time here. Thanks very much.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Chris, mate. Thanks very much.